Good morning, Michelle. This is Eda. How are
Hey,
you?
good. How are you?
Hello. Good. Did you have your coffee?
Yes, right now. It's actually 7 a.m. where I am, so I just woke up a few
Oh,
minutes ago.
you're
Um,
in the West Coast then. You're in the West Coast?
yeah, I'm in LA. I've been here since, I don't know, a week. I was only supposed to be here for a few days. I was speaking at the NFT conference, NFT Expoverse, last Saturday, and got COVID. I got tested positive for COVID
Oh,
that morning. And so I obviously I didn't speak at the conference, and I've been like here in LA. I have to stay in LA now until Sundays. I think the first day I can travel is Sunday. So I'm here at my friend's place in Santa Monica, which is great. It could
oh, that's
it could be worse, that's for sure. Could be I could be stranded definitely in worse places.
you could be a deacon stranded.
Oh no, exactly. That would have meant that I would be stuck in, Minnesota, Minneapolis for 10 days. It's like
Oh yeah.
I feel bad for people that get tested positive for COVID like in random places. Because then you're just like, okay, like luckily I know, I know people in LA, and certain other cities, but if you're in the middle of like whatever, you have to like, I guess, check into a hotel.
Yeah, you basically stuck.
But it's like,
Are you do you feel better?
yeah, I definitely feel better now. It was my first time getting it, and it was horrible. I know I didn't, I actually had got the vaccine, and it, I got really sick on the vaccine, and I always thought like, okay, if that is any indication, if I actually get the real thing, it's going to be bad, and it was.
Sorry to hear that, but I hope you enjoy a little bit of Santa Monica, which is great.
Yeah, I'm sitting outside right now, so it's gorgeous.
So, how is it going for this summer?
Um, Great. Summer's really good. I've been I always travel a lot, so I've been down the Cape a lot with my boyfriend, and I was in Miami, I think once, and now LA a couple of times. But with Fierce, we're really, it's just like constant, nonstop. Um, we're going through a lot of internal changes at Fierce, so
Mm-hmm.
I've been, in some ways, like, sort of taking it slow, being very careful about what our next move is going to be, instead of like, always producing, being a bit more methodical. I'm planning out like events and things like that, out 9 months, instead of like, the next month, the next, once we mint
Yeah.
out our collection, it gave me it has given me the space to start focusing on like building the company. When we were like trying to mint out, and it took us quite a while. That was really all we could think about, because we have,
I was
yeah.
I bet I was so happy to hear that because I bet that's it just helps you move forward.
Well, yeah, because
Having hmm
when somebody said, you drop a collection of 10,000, even if you have only five, if you have five people and buy your NFT, now you have investors, and that's how I think of people that hold our NFT. I don't think people call it that so much, but that's what it is. And so the minute that happens, it's like the pressure and the responsibility is on to sell out the collection, number one, so then you can get on with it and start to build a valuable company so that that NFT gets more valuable. It's all very logical. Um,
right.
but in the midst of it, when it took us, we definitely thought it was going to be sooner and not so, not so challenging. Um, but fine, whatever. Work isn't always easy, and so yeah. So now here we are on the other side of it, and we have like we're freed up to like, start activating all these things that we've been wanting to. So it's exciting.
Is there any? I wanted to ask you also about your decision with the Discord and what has been the learning experience from that. I totally understand, the responsibility that all of these, we all have, having people connect to the Discord and then, being vulnerable to any situation. So
Hmm.
I would love to hear the experience with that and how's it going so far.
So yeah, well, we're back on Discord after taking about 2 or 3 weeks off. We had, the idea was that we were just leaving Discord altogether and not going to go back. Um, I was actually going to delete the Discord, and at the very last minute, I was like, like just turn it all like off, basically, turn it read only, just because there was no way that we could find that where we could save all the data. Um, and so, over the few weeks that we were away from Discord, it was hard because the community really talked a lot on our Discord. The fierce community was like engaged there, and all of a sudden that channel for engagement was just gone. And we have some really loyal fierce holders or whatever, just people in the fierce fam, and there was no place where they were congregating in a transparent way that I could see that would that would get other people to engage as well, and like how that happens on the feed on Discord. I turned on Twitter communities, but that just for
Mhm.
me personally turned into like just an extra channel that didn't add a lot of value that we had to pay attention to.
Do you feel that the Twitter community is something that has potential to grow into something that we could use more, in a more valuable way, or you
Well,
think that it's
I'm
Discord is better right now?
well, definitely. Well, definitely. Yes to all those things. The thing about Twitter, they're just ripe right now, prime to like take to disrupt Discord. Like, I think they could do it tomorrow. I don't know why they're not. Like, the problem with Twitter communities is the user experience is nothing. I mean, the user experience on Discord is very difficult, but at least it's organized in a way. You have the channels on the side. You have like, you can go into different conversations and all that. On Twitter
Right.
communities, it's just to me, it's just a replica of Twitter proper, but you just have like it's more private. So you don't have the same engagement tools that you have over on Discord. And I don't know why they wouldn't have done that. I don't know why they wouldn't have like launched with something better than Discord. Like that makes sense as from a business point of view. If you're in a room with your team making a decision, meaning Twitter, to like do something like this, do something like um, I don't know if they taught. I'm sure they mentioned Discord, but like, do something that is gonna, disrupt Discord and help communities actually like grow. Why they wouldn't have changed the interface for communities before, like spending a dime, but definitely, but like before turning it on. So I hope they have plans for it because, like Twitter is where everyone is, and it would just make it so much easier for me. Let's just take me for example, as as a company owner, as a project owner, to build the community there. You have spaces, you have Twitter proper, and then you'd have Twitter communities. Like you wouldn't need to go anywhere else, right? Like Twitter, I do not know why Twitter isn't thinking in that way.
Hopefully they'll figure it out before another platform does. I was thinking, yesterday I saw, the Gucci tweet that they posted about
Mm,
then they accept ApeCoin.
mhm,
And I immediately went into their Instagram to see if they had posted anything about that on their Instagram. Because I feel like, and this is very like the experience that I'm having, trying to onboard more people, trying to get, people to learn about all these wonderful projects, they're not on Twitter. So I went to Instagram to say, have they posted, even if as a story, have they posted this anywhere on Instagram? And they did not. And because I've been trying to see, okay, how does the cross selling really works? Do we put like our
I don't hear you. I think you may have muted yourself.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was a mute. um, uh, where did you don't hear me?
Um, I don't know. I can't. I don't know where
Hold on.
you left off. It was like
Okay, so I'll
it was about 15 seconds.
invite the host. Okay, so Talia is here. So what I was doing, I checked the Gucci post about ApeCoin, right? And let's see, she comes in, and I went immediately to Instagram to see if they have posted it on their Instagram, right? Because I feel that we're all there. Oh, let me just invite her on. Invite to speak. There he is. So I feel that I feel that it's the same people that all over and all over that are on Twitter, and I feel that we need to definitely like move Twitter into a bigger platform for new people because like even when with guests that I want to them to come and speak to us on Twitter Spaces, I've been having to go to the personally to the place where that person is so I can have the interview because they're not on Twitter. They don't want to be on Twitter.
Mm, hmm.
So I was like, this is such a great opportunity for Gucci to post that on their Instagram and see, get some people that will be curious about this. What is this thing? What is that? They're accepting crypto. What is that? That they'll, be curious enough to come into the spaces, right? So I feel that and I don't have the answer yet as to where is it because all of our holders are already on Discord. They are, mostly they're all on Twitter, but this cross change, like there's got to be like the answer as to what would be the best platform to not only like keep the engagement going with your current community but also keep onboarding new people
Hmm.
because if we don't do that, that's not we're not going to grow. It doesn't matter
Hmm.
how great the projects are, the teams are, and everything that we're doing. The space needs to keep onboarding new people into the space.
Yeah, like actually face that as an issue at Fierce. You know, our main marketing strategy before we dropped was leveraging the 10 models that represent our collection. You know, they're real models. And we chose them based on, diversity and also their influence on casting, they're casting coin models. So their influence in terms of like being verified or having a lot of followers. And 8 of the 10 aren't on Twitter. And so that that like really hindered it a lot.
They are
Um,
or they're not.
they're
They are.
not.
They're not.
No.
Eight are not.
No, they're not. And the two that are on Twitter don't use it.
Yeah.
And so, and then at that time, this was in December when we dropped, they barely even knew what an NFT was, and they certainly didn't have an Ethereum wallet. So, and none of their community did. So, like, they, their community had nothing to do and didn't understand the space. So, we weren't able to leverage them at all. We did not, it was like something that was pretty obvious after the fact. And but we have, help. They are now, definitely they know more about it, and they're communicating with their um, community. They'll talk about NFTs, they'll talk about fears and stuff like that, but on Instagram, um, which is great. And I do think Instagram does is starting to have like a bit more of like a, an NFT presence. TikTok totally does too. um, I don't know. Maybe, if there'll be some platform that comes along and disrupts the whole thing, maybe a decentralized platform. That sounds like that would be like, really the ideal, wouldn't it? Like to have like a decentralized platform, no one owns it, and it serves all of the things that we want, like building community, buying and selling NFTs. Um, Even like, yeah, encompassing even like an open sea in it. Wouldn't that be amazing to have one place for all of
Oh, that would be great. That would be that would be great.
it?
Talia, hi, good morning. I see that you're on.
Huh? Yeah, I've been listening to you guys. Oh my God, I'm hearing an echo for everything. Are you guys also hearing with an echo?
I cannot hear you too well.
Yeah.
Ugh, I don't know why. Mm. I'll try not to unplug it again.
Okay. Well, we were just talking about, what could be the ideal situation for our projects. I mean, I going back to what Michelle was saying. I think there obviously the educational component. It's gonna take some time. It just it that's there's no way around it. We just need to keep educating, keep you know talking more about the spaces. And for now, until we get that decentralized platform, which will be amazing, we're going to have to basically play on all the platforms and see which one is the platform that works better for both our current community and our future community, which is, it is daunting, but
Yeah, it's a big miss. Twitter, I feel like with Twitter communities, at this stage, it's not over, but I feel like how they opened is a big miss.
yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I try when you guys moved to the Twitter community. I tried to keep up there, but I just wasn't able to. Maybe it's just because I was so used to the Discord that, even though it's overwhelming at first, once you get to know it, you understand it.
Yeah,
So
no, exactly. Yep. So then now, yeah, like so now we are back. We took, like I said, we took three weeks off. I was not planning on coming back, but we just weren't able to foster the same community feeling that we had on Discord. So I decided to go back. Polled the community. I spoke to people one on one, and everyone wanted to go back. Basically, I'd say 100%, and about 80% were thought we should just like close the Twitter communities altogether. And so now our Discord is open in a limited way, in a good way, though. It's actually so much better than it was before. Like we have 4 channels instead of like 35 or 40. Like it's some crazy amount of channels that were really chaotic. So we have 4 channels. Only one can you like engage on. The other 3 is like one support, the other's an announcement channel. And then we have a verification channel. And then like actually we also have the about channel. So there's 5 channels. One you can engage on general, which is makes sense. The support ticket you can engage, you can like leave, comments and things like that. So then we can have one-on-one engagement. You can't post links on our Discord. So I'd say we're pretty locked down. It would be very hard to hack or scam somebody on the Fierce Discord. It does, I'm sure, make it less exciting, and it could be throttling our growth in terms of Discord. But I have to be okay with that because I just can't risk anybody in our community having a scam happen to them and them losing, any of their NFTs or their crypto. I just can't have that.
yeah,
So
I totally agree. Every community has to do, and every project has to do what is good for them. And if that's it's something
yeah,
that for fears and works for your community. I love that, kind of like simplifying a little bit more the Discord, so people are just able to just
yeah,
engage one major channel. That's very interesting, and definitely we will circle back with you to see how that's going down the line.
and
So
it's
I
like a lot of people are asking me about this now, especially when I'm on Spaces and things like that, like about this Discord thing. And it's gotten me thinking, like, if I'm going to talk about like this and do these things that I did, like, I feel like it's starting to become my responsibility to start like helping educate people on this. And that's why I started doing those like really quick videos on like what is a crypto wallet, what is a seed phrase, and we're going to continue doing that, because that's like, no matter how much that, for me, that's the biggest security risk right there, is that people just don't, are new to space and don't understand it, and it is complicated. Like, why can't people are asking me to connect my wallet? Why can't I do that? you know, and so, Fierce plans on being, and is becoming part of the, helping educate like new people to understand how to protect themselves in the space.
Yeah, I think the educational part, it will be another ongoing thing that we cannot stop it. We just have to, it's a repetition that you can do again.
Oh,
Yes.
yay. Awesome. So happy to be on with you guys. And I was listening, and you're bringing up such important points regarding the current situation in the market. And so happy to see you, and so happy to do the spaces with Fierce.
Hey Talia, so good to see you again. We were shared a space, I think it was Monday, the sustainability space.
Mm-hmm, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. It was awesome. It was a really awesome space that went really into detail, I think, about, digital fashion and sustainability and all these things, and so many things, I think, going on the community aspect and the fashion aspect and all these different, levels. So it's super interesting to hear. Also, you guys' experience on the community front. I think as Web3, pioneers, we're going through so many different things and challenges, and I really admire you guys also for keeping and building and, going ahead, and it's really amazing and inspiring to see.
Oh my God, thank you. You too. I mean, it's been so much fun working with Eyes of Fashion. That whole
Yeah,
metaverse.
that was a really good space on Monday.
Yeah.
From with Vertugo and DressX and the Fabricant and some of the other players, which brings us to our next kind of super cool topic about metaverse and the wearables. Michelle from Fierce, can you tell us anything that you guys are planning in the future? Anything that you can share with us?
I can tell you some stuff like on the surface. We have a call right now today in about an hour with our landlord in Indie Village. That's our neighborhood where Fierce Studios is. And it's kind of an exclusive neighborhood where there's us and I think 10 or 11 other businesses, sort of high profile businesses. Deepak Chopra is across the street from us. There's some
Oh
well
my
known
God,
music
what a
venues.
dream. Let's just talk about
Huh?
Deepak Chopra. I said, what a dream to work on the same street as Deepak Chopra.
Totally. It's his Siva Foundation. Because it's the metaverse, we don't run into him or anything like that.
I know.
But
But
it is
still,
so
so
nice. Yeah. To be in like the same,
yeah, I
and
feel like
also
the energy is so aligned
In the
there.
hood, in the same hood.
we started our metaverse activations in crypto voxels, but that was just while we built our studio out in Decentraland, in the indie village of Decentraland. And so we had our grand opening in, I think, the end of June. And the party, we, partnered with you guys. You guys dropped wearables into a dress wearable into our holders, wallets, and we did the same for you with our eye scanner. And it was fun. It was great. We were in the first 2 minutes of Metaverse in terms of a lot of things, but definitely user experience. Um, and so it's still, like a little bit clunky. It's not quite as seamless as it definitely will be, but the visuals are so, we're pleased with it. We love Fierce Studios, the studio itself. And we have this whole retail store down on the ground floor, where we sell wearables, and they're they're featured and spinning, and it's, what you can do in the metaverse is really exciting. It's I'm so excited about the idea of doing corresponding events at the exact same time. And that's some of the things that we have in the works right now. And so where it's not just like, it's just, okay, we're also going to open it up in the metaverse, but where actually there's a real connection, and how people offline in the offline party are interacting in a meaningful way in the metaverse. And so these are, these are visionary, these are visions that we have for like the future. And a lot of it is like, we can, it's the tech is there. We can realize it right now. But we're also looking to the future, to what is going to be, what will be possible, whether it be a year, 5 years, 10 years into the future.
My first metaverse experience was the Fear Studio, that first party that you guys did back in a few months ago, and I had not laughed so much in a long time, just trying to figure that damn avatar out, how to dress it, how to like move it. There were people that were dancing around me, and I'm like, how did she do that? And I thought that was so much fun, just to kind of have a light moment during my day. I joined. You guys had great music, so I really
It's all
like
about the
that.
music. Yeah.
It's all about music, and I had a fun experience. But I wonder. So, what do you think it's gotta happen next for us to have more of an active, not say live, but activity, contribution, participation in the metaverse, like in the Decentraland?
Well, to have like what I think people have in their mind of like being in the Matrix or something like that, where there's like a seamless experience, that I think that's just a long way off. Um, years, several years off. In the meantime, I think there's going to be there are and will be more hybrid metaverse experiences. So where you're somewhat in the metaverse, but you're also, just like you're sitting at your computer, right? And you're dressing your avatar, but you're like doing it that way. You don't really feel so immersed. I think there's going to be some hardware developments are going to have to happen. They are, evolving so that, you know, right now you can put on headgear. I have a really good friend who works at one of the top VR companies in New York City, and she brought me up to test out one of like literally the latest headset, a virtual reality headset. And it was in this room, and it was like millions of dollars worth of equipment. And so I'm standing in the middle of the room, and she gives me the headset. And I was on the moon, I was in the Dead Sea, um, and I was in the mountains, and it was like unbelievable. Like I think most people have had this experience if you've gone into any Samsung or tested out this headgear, and you really do feel like you're there. It's brilliant. Um, but like I took it off, I had a headache, my neck hurt, like that kind of thing is definitely just going to stop people from like really any kind of mainstream like adoption. What's going to have to happen is it's going to just have to become a much lighter, more seamless experience. Like the glasses, like the Snapchat glasses that they came out with, and so like that, maybe that kind of a user experience. I think those things can happen a lot sooner. Um, but yeah, just in a word, like just develop, progress. We need like technical progress for it to become like mainstream, adoption. And I think the good thing is a lot of people are putting a ton of money into it. Like look at Meta, for example. People are banking on this, and and that is going to just drive the speed with which we are all able to like leverage the metaverse and really be like there in a meaningful way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that even more so, I think that's where the future is, because it's just a matter of time until the technology starts working. And I think already, like, also, I couldn't agree more, with the amazing experience that you had with traveling world. It was also my favorite thing to do with my headsets as well. I tend to Bali, and I went, what else did I do? Oh, I saw the Northern Lights. I really recommend that experience. It was awesome. Or just go to the forests of China or whatever, right? Um, but I do agree. I think that the metaverse is kind of not really what people think, in a way that it will be like this separate, completely world. I think that once they develop, the lighter glasses that allow you really to emerge with with your regular experiences of life, right? If it's glasses, or if it's some sort of a um, microphone with like a lens that you can put in your eye or whatever, I think that's where it's going, because I think that today it just doesn't make any sense to me walking down in the street with my head into my phone. It just doesn't make sense.
Mm,
Like, I feel like
mm,
phone is already such a uh it's already like not like, I feel like there's going to be this next advancement coming, because it doesn't make sense to have this, um I would say, appliance with you all the time that is not also the most comfortable to carry. You're always looking in your phone. It doesn't
mm,
make sense really on combining it regarding holding it and where your head is when you're walking. And we're already at a point that, like, with our messaging, with our community, with our social life, we're always on our phones, like on WhatsApps, on Twitter, even today in Twitter Spaces. We all kind of hold our phones and look into our phones while we're discussing this, without really being able to even experience. And yes, I think, of course, audio calls are here to stay, but I think just the fact of like a different appliance that will allow you to experience all that, like you would see it, I think, in the Meta video with Mark Zuckerberg, that he's just experiencing his workout with an instructor while being in his own living room, or playing with a friend in a virtual way, but like in just a very lighter, easier way. Like, I see it as me walking on the street and getting a call, and being able to speak through my glasses or whatever. And these kind of things are already in development. And then, of course, there's the time that you're at home. And something interesting also, I'm sure we're all sometimes in family gatherings or friends gatherings, and there's always the people that are kind of in their phones all the time. And this is another thing. Yes, of course, you should definitely put your phone aside. We're not meant to be on our phone all the time, especially in these gatherings. But I think that, like, it would be so much nicer if it wouldn't be that kind of experience of just looking into your phone all the time, and just having a much more seamless way of experiencing life with technology, right? So I think it's just a matter of time when that happens. It will allow everything else to develop, as well as our digital identity, which makes also fashion and all the other things, and travel, and of course the IRL experiences are here to stay. But I think it will just bring so much more convenience into life, and yes, of course, there's the bad sides of technology and the criticism, but I think us as early adopters already know that, like, this is, I guess, part of the game, and it's just finding that balance. But the technology is already going that way. So this is, I think, the path in a way to mass adoption. I think NFTs really helped for a lot of people just to get into it in the first place, and adapt. So this is already another step. Like me, for example, before NFTs, well, I did get a headset, but only because I heard about kind of NFTs, right? So I was thinking about
mm.
experiencing all that. But yeah, go ahead. That's kind of my thoughts about the matter.
Yeah, I loved everything you said, and I'm like right there with you. Like the idea of this thing, this phone, the phone is so important to us. Like it's the most important thing to my business for sure. I would say when the iPhone came out, it probably changed my life more than like almost anything in terms of like my productivity and how the trajectory of my career. And I actually thought about that. Like somebody had posed that question, what's the most, it's several years ago, but what changed the trajectory of your career the most? And it was like definitely the development of the iPhone. Like I got it right away and it was just like, oh my God. Like it turns us into superheroes. It really does when you think about it. And so now this thing is not going anywhere. It's as important to me today as it was in 2008. And it must at some point become a more integrated experience with me, as opposed to like having to look down, like you said, Talia, is like such a good comment. Having to like leave my space and my surroundings and look down at my phone all the time, and to interact with it is just not a great experience. And it's many years later. It's like 10 years later, 12 years later. And so having an integrated experience with your body physically, and so having that, and then also having like the outside world be have some activations, like being going shopping and being able to like have the ads that are speaking to you, the being able to like see the augmented reality. There's a lot of augmented reality work being done right now. um, this is like the exciting thing I think that's going to come, like is starting to come already, in terms of what the metaverse is. It's like that hybrid experience, and it is a lot associated with like I think your phone, your iPhone, your mobile device, and where that mobile device, like the hardware of the mobile device, goes next is going to be really interesting to me.
Yeah, I think I'm both of you like definitely. I mean, the iPhone, we are in the creator economy. Without that, most of us will not even think that we would be creators. And we're all creating every day with our post, with our businesses, with our personal lives. And I think it definitely has transformed, but what we're doing today, thanks to that. I cannot wait for the metaverse to be like a place where I can, meet my friends, not only for like a showing of an art exhibition or a fashion show, but also kind of like activity. Like, we all live in cities, and, when winter comes, it's so difficult to kind of get out of the house and do exercise and all those things. And I picture myself, Natalie's there on the audience, and I always tell her I cannot wait for us to be able to just like go in whatever random situation in the metaverse and get some sort of activity, like we're doing the jungle today or we're dancing in a party, kind of like finding solutions to everyday problems, not just like attending, the space just, to be in the metaverse, but also kind of like to help us with our life, so we can get that balance. And then when we're actually outside, we're interacting with the people and not in the phone, like Talia is saying. But then, when we're in the metaverse, we're actually doing something that we would do, but we're not able to do right now in real life.
Yeah, and like, so for us, we do a lot of thinking around like fashion and marketing and entertainment and all that stuff when it comes to the metaverse. But there's, whole verticals of people, of industries that are thinking about it in terms of like, education, and accessibility and things like that. I mean, imagine being like a kid, and like right now being a little kid, and like your whole educational experience moving forward is going to be immersive. And so instead of, reading history out of a book like we did, and being taught that way verbally, um, you're actually like living it in some way and experiencing it, like just the level of comprehension of like what was, and and what is going to be so much greater. And it just makes the that person smarter, I would imagine. And so that's progress right there. And I love that.
I think this is a great conversation because there, you know, there's some things that will take, a little bit longer to get to be ready for people to adopt it, to feel, you know, that it can work. But I also feel that there's so many things that could work just right now with the technology that we have now, with, with the spaces that we have now in the metaverse. So I cannot wait to see, what the future, like the near future, um, lays ahead for all of us.
Even just like Zoom, Zoom is a metaverse. And it like it, during COVID, obviously, it allowed us all to be productive, while not being able to be in person with each other. But also, it made it so that it was, mainstream to interact that way, so that people that are housebound, for example, back, before 2020, yeah, Zoom existed, and people, you could interact that way, but it was like somebody was, going out of their way for you to, to interact with you because you can't, meet them in person. But now it's not like that. It's completely acceptable, and so that is a metaverse right there. It's because that these people are, were able to engage with one another on screen.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And there's already a
Yeah,
lot of stuff going
100%.
on.
Oh yeah, what are you saying, Etta?
Now, just saying that Zoom, there's a lot of potential for Zoom, Google Meetups to kind of open the doors to a lot of people into, being curious about especially digital fashion and digital wearables. So I think that
Oh,
it's
totally.
very, very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Super, super exciting. And also I just had a question for Fierce. Well, we're finally having this space together. And we did already so many times, but so you guys are also a real life agency in New York, right?
Yes. So I have a company called Casting Coin that I started in 2018, and it's a booking platform where brands can directly book models and photographers and makeup artists. We have we have thousands of talent on the platform. But what's interesting is it started out as I wrote a white paper in 2017, and the idea for me back then was to tokenize the whole experience. And it's before the term NFT was coined, but basically not basically, that is what it was. That was my proposal. And so I wrote Casting Coin, the white paper, and I got some advisors, and I started the company. And within a couple of weeks, I realized that like we could not do that. It was way too early to become like this DAO and try to tokenize, try to get fashion brands to book talent this way, to pay them crypto. Like, it was way too early, and I think it's still too early for that. But so I just pivoted, really, because I still believe in the idea. So I pivoted we're a centralized platform now, and I've spent the last 3 or 4 years heads down building that company. Um, and so with now, NFTs came along last April, and I was like so excited that I could like start thinking about blockchain again, because I had moved away from the space because, building my company, I just didn't have time for it. And when I heard about NFTs, I was like, how can I get the models involved with this? And so the first activation is, Fierce Models, the NFT collection. And the idea is, someday I definitely still, my dream is to turn Casting Coin into a DAO. But at the moment, so I have these two companies, and they're starting to merge slightly. And my dev team for Casting Coin, it's a different dev team, obviously, than my Solidity team. But my dev team for the platform are thinking, we're now having meetings and thinking a lot about how can we like turn on certain features on Casting Coin that will enable people to, maybe turn some of the images into NFTs, or be part of the Fierce community, on the platform, and vice versa. And so, yeah, and so yes, that's what we do. That's what my I guess my original day job was, and still is. And it works just really well together because we already have, fashion brand clients and things like that. So it did a lot of the heavy lifting for us in terms of marketing and that for Fierce.
That's amazing. That's so cool. And it's so basically like they can book models through a platform, right? And I love the story how, you started it kind of through wanting to create the DAO, and then, you kind of got back into blockchain and created Fierce, that is amazing. And I just love how it's all working together. And I think that there's definitely going to be much more opportunities for people, because I see NFTs are really developing as brands in so many ways. So I mean, it would be great to see more brands adapt NFTs as different ways, to market and show a voice, right? So super excited for that.
We
And
have,
yeah,
oh no, I was just going to say, so one of the things that we talk about internally on Cast and Coin side is creating a talent vertical for NFTs. So right now we have, everyone behind the camera, like in front of the camera, models, photographers, stylists, hairstylists, makeup artists. And then, we're talking about having another one being like NFTs, whether it be like Fierce, the Fierce models could be in there, like that kind of thing, so that you can actually
right.
like quote unquote book them right on our platform in the same way you do, real human talent.
Yeah, that is absolutely amazing. And I think it would be so good to see that happen. And do you, by the way, have any plans for New York Fashion Week? I know that last New York Fashion Week you had an event, so that was really cool. So I'd love to hear about that. And yes, and I think it would be amazing for holders and for, the NFT community and for brands as well, to be able, to book NFTs and instead of models, and vice versa, for the holders to be able to book their NFTs to work for them. And I know that this was something that was kind of led by Fierce from the beginning, that you thought of, and already did a collaboration with New Balance, right? It was also Coney, sorry, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, so I think it would be amazing for both sides, and I'm, waiting for more brands to get in and to adapt in that way. I think it would be really, really cool, for also, the holders that want to be part of the community and get this sort of asset that they can book to work for them.
Absolutely. So our plans for this New York Fashion Week is we're having an IRL party with a corresponding metaverse activation, partnering with a fashion designer. We're going to announce that in the next couple of days. And last last February for Fashion Week, we actually did an animated fashion show. We cast 10 of our models. Um, and they actually like sort of quote unquote walked the catwalk. Most people are familiar with that video. We're not doing that exactly like that this year, but we're doing something similar. And yeah, like these big mainstream events like New York Fashion Week are great opportunities to start the communities, the traditional fashion communities, introducing them to like Web3 and getting them like getting them used to the language, and start thinking about ways they can leverage it. And so that's what, in terms of education, we see these big activations as being that as well, opportunities to bring Web3 more mainstream to these brands, because the brands are the ones that are going to really help push the technology, the progress. Because once they see, their bottom line is affected so well, so positively, um, it inspires them to spend money on R&D, and so we want to be part of helping that happen.
Yeah, so just about to get this opportunity, before it's too late. And I know like that some brands even open Discord, like Prada opened their Discord just a few weeks ago. I no, a few like a month or two ago, and it's interesting to see that how they tied it with the time capsule collection that is linked to a physical t-shirt, and then people also get into their Discord community to be a part of it on the Web3 sense. And I'm curious to see, what they're going to do with the communities that they build and what activations they're going to do. And it's all happening. And I hope that also, that Fierce and that Eyes of Fashion and other NFT Web3 brands will be the ones that get to kind of be the influencers maybe in the space in the metaverse or in the Web3 world. Like there's the influencers of the Web2 world. So I think the Web3 world has its own, I would say, influencers, representatives, like the Eyes of Fashion. We already turned, the character into AR, and into like we have wearables, we have like the actual 3D character. So it's cool to think and see all the possibilities that people can really represent themselves, I think, in the metaverse, and compared to reality that we already spoke about a lot. So yeah, so definitely, so super excited. And yeah, and so amazing to speak to you. I have another call, so I have to get going in a few seconds. But yeah, if anyone wants to ask questions, feel free to come and ask questions. And Edda, always great to hear you as well, as usual. Such a light every time we talk. So yeah, thank you so much, guys.
Thanks, Talia. It was great talking to you again.
Yeah, same. Hopefully to meet you IRL sometime soon. And, as usual.
Definitely. It will happen.
It will. It will.
Yes, I
Take
mean,
care.
your Fashion Week is around the corner, so let's see we can all make it back there to New York very soon. We'll see. And Michelle, thank you so much for coming to the space and
Yeah,
you
it was a
know
pleasure.
and sharing all your learnings and feedbacks throughout this journey, which is amazing. And yeah, it's up and downs, up and downs, up and downs, but we keep going. We keep going.
We do. We do. It's all good. It's great.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
guys.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.